All right, welcome back. In case you missed the beginning, I'm NFS Coulter. I'm sitting here with senior producer of Need for Speed The World, John Doyle, and we just saw the trailer for Need for Speed World, right?
Absolutely. We really wanted, with the one-year anniversary, to kind of show off everything the game's got going, and wanted to show some very cool racing and overall quality. Usually when we do these shows, we get a lot of comments like, that game can't be free. But,
exactly.
But it's free. Yeah, you get more than you pay for.
And all you have to do is go to needforspeedworld.com to download it, right?
Absolutely. You can get there, you can download it. It's a quick download, and you're in and you're racing in a game with a little over 7 million people right now.
Excellent. In a year. In only a year.
Yeah,
excellent.
Year.
Excellent. And speaking of the year anniversary, you guys released a couple of new cars in the past couple of weeks, right? You want to talk about those?
Yeah, we got some lots of big cars out. So our one-year anniversary was a few weeks ago.
Right.
We got the GT3 RS.
Nice.
Porsche was great to get out. This week, this Tuesday, we just popped out a Treasure Hunter edition of the Cayman S. So
nice.
With our new Treasure Hunt mode, that car actually shows you where all the treasure is in the world. So it makes it easier to complete that mode.
Very cool.
And then this next week, we have some new cars coming that I'm pretty excited about. So lots of questions from the community on when we get some brands that they haven't seen yet in the game.
And I believe there is a new brand coming up, right?
There is. Next week, it seemed like the appropriate time to do it here at GamesCom is get a Mercedes in the game. So we'll see an SLR next week.
Ooh, and, great car.
Looking forward to racing some people.
And that's going to be a Tier 3 car, right?
That's a Tier 3 right at the top of our performance band right now.
Perfect.
And it should compete with anything in the game.
Excellent, excellent. I know a lot of people are looking for a new car to compete up there with the E46 GTR and the Lambo,
Murcielago and all those. Yep.
Exactly. So let's get to some questions from people. We've got a few already on hold. Let's see. And we just answered what new car will be in the game. And as we said, it's the Mercedes SLR. And how about will helicopters ever be implemented into pursuits or team escape?
The helicopter. So that's something that one of our engineers tries to slide in about every build, but we shut it down so far because we want to save that for some new team escape modes and some new pursuit levels that I think you'll see when we start releasing our Tier 4 cars. So we want to make that a kind of a special event, so we'll save the helicopter for those.
So there are going to be Tier 4 cars?
There are going to be Tier 4 cars, but I'm not yet going to tell you when.
Excellent, excellent. And another question is, how about sponsored vinyls in the game?
Vinyls from I'm not sure what that question really refers to.
So probably like, are there ever going to be like companies, stickers to be able to put vinyls to put on the car or anything like that?
That's something we've certainly looked at. We've done it in previous Need for Speeds, and we have a lot of vinyl categories we want to get in. The big thing we wanted to start with was getting you guys primitives so you can build whatever you want, and then making some really cool art director cars. So as we go into the game, we're going to keep supporting it, keep generating new features, and one of the things we will be doing is adding more content like vinyls. So I can see some sponsored vinyls coming, not sure when though.
Okay, all right, and there's definitely already a ton of customization in the game.
Tons of options.
We see a lot of people on our Facebook page and our Twitter pages asking, is there going to be customization in the run and things like that in other games? And usually, and a lot of them should just play Need for Speed World because there's just so much you can do to a car.
We've got a lot of depth. You can do a lot with body kits and paints and the vinyl system that we have. Probably the best vinyl system, the deepest we've had in the history of Need for Speed. And there's more to come. We're not done. I think there's a lot more we'd like to do in both performance and visual customization for this game. And before too long, I think we'll see some of that stuff.
Excellent. And speaking of things to come, MC01 would like to know when come the canyons.
The canyons. Canyons are mostly done. I'd say 95% done. They need a couple things before we release them, though. The most important thing they need are some game modes that fit Need for Speed World, and we think we need some special cars for them too. So we're going to release the canyons when we have the whole package ready to go. I can tell you this, though. The canyons will not be loaded. They will actually be a part of the world.
Oh, very nice. Very nice. Moving on. Will new game modes be coming, and are there any chances of adding new skills?
Game modes, absolutely. We got a couple we're developing right now. We'd like to expand the game modes we have, more events. We'd like to get some more Team Escape events out as well. And then we have a couple again. There's a lot of great classic Need for Speed modes we'd like to get out. But we have a short list of ones we're working on, and we'll get them out fairly soon. At least another one soon.
Right.
The very next thing you're going to see is an improvement on Treasure Hunt, a lot more depth to the Treasure Hunt mode. And then we have a couple other ones we're not quite talking about yet that we're excited about.
And Treasure Hunt is relatively new in the past month or so, right?
Do
you want to talk about that a little bit for those who might not know and just kind of see it on there and don't know what it is?
Treasure Hunt is an open world mode you play by yourself. And so every day in the world, there's a section of the world where there are some hidden gems. If you can find all 15 gems, you get a significant amount of both rep and cash. And so what we're going to do, every day that the gems are in a new spot as well. So what we're going to do is extend that, make it a little deeper, and introduce the concept of streaks. So the more days in a row you're able to successfully complete the treasure hunt, the more loot you're going to get. Very nice. Along with treasure hunt, we'll see some other things. In terms of skills, we have a lot of conversation on how we want to handle the skill system going forward. And when we have made some decisions on that, we'll let you know.
Cool. And how about got a question from Flanker who wants to know, do you have any plans to add heat level 6? In Pursuit? I
think you might see heat level 6 around the time you see those tier 4 cars. So.
Excellent.
So it's not fair if you got a Zonda and the cops don't. So we'll have to up the heat a little bit.
Valid point. And let's see. Is the intention of Need for Speed World to eventually encompass the entire world?
Wow, that's bold.
Yeah, very bold question.
I think the way we look at Need for Speed World is kind of a compilation of what we like best out of Need for Speed. So we've been adding cars from games like Hot Pursuit and Shift 2. I'm sure we'll do the same thing with cars from the Run. And I think as we continue to keep pace with the Need for Speeds that are out, we'll also look at can we add world from other games, that sort of thing. Modes from other games as well. So we see a lot of great stuff in Need for Speed, and we want to look at Need for Speed World as a way to combine the best of all of them.
Excellent. And somebody seemed to have a sharp eye on the trailer. They asked they showed a cop live in the race. Any chances of that coming as a new mode?
That's something we talk about as well. Yeah.
Okay.
So we've been kicking that around. There's some technical challenges with that. So it's one of those things we're going to investigate and prototype a bit and see what we can get in.
Okay. Cool. And let's see here. Do you plan to add more visual customization parts for cache?
I believe we do, yes. So that's a good question for our producer on that, Melvin. And he's working on that, and I think he's got some announcements that should make people pretty happy in the near future.
Cool.
Both performance and customization.
Perfect. And are we planning to put SUVs in World?
It's another thing we've talked about. We played around with a little bit. I can see them making an appearance, yes.
Cool.
I
was about to say, the Cayenne would be kind of a good car to have in that. Let's see. And speaking of Tier 4 cars, when will they be released? Do we have a date yet?
We don't have a date.
Okay.
And we're kind of saving those for when we have the right modes wrapped around it. So one good thing about what we're doing right now is we're actually going to invest more engineers and artists on World and try and really amp up the pace that we deliver new features and new content. So the last few months we've delivered 4 cars a month. We're taking that up to 12 cars a month by the end of September.
Great.
And then we'll see a lot more work in terms of getting content and events out as well.
And I don't have it queued up, but I see a lot of people asking for drift and drag modes.
Yeah.
Anything in the future for that, or has it been talked about at all?
Done a lot of work on drag in particular.
Okay.
I think it's a mode that makes sense. We argue back and forth over Pro Street style drag or whether we'd like a little bit more of the Underground 2 style, Most Wanted style drag. Actually, frankly, we'd love to hear from you guys on which one of those modes you prefer, which one of those versions of drag you like. In terms of drift, again, topic of conversation. So we haven't got that one as far along as drag, but it's something we know people like.
Cool. And those of you who do want to play drag and drift, you can always, in the meantime, play Shift 2 Unleashed, which has both modes.
Yep.
Any chance you'll be adding some new areas on the map in Need for Speed the World?
Well, the canyons is probably the next thing coming, and then we are always talking about what we could do. So we've talked about pulling in some of the world from Underground 2 or the Tri-Cities area that was built up with Undercover, and both of those are possible. Both of those are things we're looking at, and as we are starting to add more content, we'll prioritize those things. Canyons is a definite, though.
Okay. Let's see. What else we have? Will there be any trade system or action between gamers?
Oh, yeah, trades or betting between gamers. Yeah, okay. So the trade system is on our list. It is we rank it a little lower in priority though, because we think we can get getting more content and more ways to play seems more important to start initially. But it's on our list of things to chase. In terms of betting between players, not something I've played around with much. Yeah. It's been talked about. We see what's going on out in the rest of the world too. But it's not on my, at least not very high on the list right now.
Fair enough. How about increasing level cap? I know when people get to level 50, a lot of people wonder, is that it? Is there anything in the works there, or any other ideas that you guys have used to, kind of work around that?
Kind of in the same way we talk about skills. So we're looking at a number of ways to extend the skill and level system. Yeah. Some of those are as radical as finding an entirely new way to handle it, and some of those are just extensions of what we have today. A lot of design and prototyping going into that now, and over the next few months we'll get far enough along that we'll be able to make some decisions. And as soon as we know, we'll let you know.
All right. How about, do you plan to make some existing cars more competitive than they are right now?
So the tuning question. So I think most of the cars that we have out now, unless they have bugs, we're pretty happy with the tuning we have on them. You'll see more and more cars as they come out, especially with this pace of trying to get as many as 12 cars a month out. You'll see more and more cars that kind of cluster in the same range. We don't like right now that you tend to have at each top of each tier a best car. We want there to be a number of choices for you guys, so that no matter which car you pick, you've got a reasonable chance to succeed based on your driving skill. And speaking along those lines, I've seen a few comments go by about the Nissan GTR. Yes.
There are a lot of comments about that. And will it have its stats or performance improved, or are you guys pretty happy?
I think the GTR we have in today, we're pretty happy with. There's always the possibility of other versions of the GTR.
Okay, all right, yeah. Because there are definitely a couple versions, and I personally would like to see.
I'm a big fan of the GTR. I was at its launch party in Tokyo a few years ago, so personally I like that car.
I'm also a big Porsche fan, so what you guys have been doing recently, I'm very happy with the GT3 RS and the 959 is my personal car that I use in the world.
It came in this week, is awesome.
Yep, very true. Are there any competitions planned for the future, or in the near future?
All the time, yes. And if you tune into the Facebook site and Twitter for Need for Speed World, NFS Ling is running things all the time, so you'll see lots more.
Cool. And will you increase the number of players that can be loaded at the same time, or is there any? I assume they're asking
in the open world.
Exactly.
Yeah. Right now, it sits at about 8. We can move that up or down depending on how performance is, and so we kind of tweak that all the time as we. That's the kind of thing that we certainly can do, and something we talk about. Right now, that isn't planned, but it's actually a really trivial thing to change. So. Probably a good thing to experiment with and see what it does to performance.
Okay. Let's see, I just saw this asked. Are there any, and since we're in Germany, I think this is pretty fitting, are there any new languages that will be added to the game?
Yes, there are. The one I can talk about now is that we're going to add Brazilian Portuguese to the game.
Great.
So got a lot of Brazilian players in the game, and we want to get them
That's right. I always run into Brazilian players in the game. That's very true.
So on that topic with chat, where it can be quite the United Nations of chat right now in the game, we're also going to do some work to channel chat appropriately based on the language of the OS you're using. We'll try and get you by default into channels for your language. You can always switch channels later if you like, but that way it won't seem quite so crazy.
And I just saw back-to-back comments about this. So are there Uber parts, or are there Uber parts ever going to be released, or will there ever be elite parts?
So I can't steal Melvin's thunder on this, or he'll beat me up. He's our primary designer on that sort of thing. But we left some space specifically in the performance customization system for other tiers of parts. We've got Tier 4 cars coming that I promise you will come with their own parts. And we've got one of those slots you probably noticed that we've never used, and we're kind of saving that for something special.
Let's see. This is kind of an interesting question. Which way will NFS World go? Is it going to be more simulation racing in the future, like with the ability to tune the suspension or the stiffness or the tires, or is it more like today with adding more cars and races?
I think we may do a bit of both. So we think of this as an action game primarily, so you're not going to see us go the direction of Shift. Maybe there's room somewhere in the Need for Speed world for a free-to-play Shift later. But right now for World, we're going to focus on action. That doesn't mean that we won't extend the performance customization system for tunable sliders, for things like tuning the stiffness of your suspension, that is, or the rated nitrous burn, etc. So we are looking at that. We have a design for it. When we released performance customization, that was the plan, and we're just kind of waiting for the right time to get that out to you.
Okay. And how about any chance of adding rainy weather, and I guess for that matter, any kind of weather into the game?
We just had a conversation with one of our rendering engineers, Conrad, about weather, and he's eager to do it. So
cool.
The thing that challenges us on that is making sure that it runs on a full range of PCs. So right now, World runs smoothly on netbooks and on high-end machines.
Sure, I run it on my work laptop. I mean, it runs very nicely. There's very accessible to a huge range of PCs.
So we want to make sure if we drop in weather effects, everyone can see it. So that takes a little more time, but we're certainly looking at things like rain and snow and other cool things.
Good, great. And do we have any plans to add more Mazda cars into the future?
There's some great Mazda cars out there, and I can tell you, I can't say specifically when the next one might come. I can tell you when we start really picking up the pace of cars coming out to 8 and 10 and 12 per month, there's a lot of cars that you haven't seen yet that will be popping into the catalog. Good.
And let's see. KZ wants to know, will the amount of maximum vinyl layers be increased?
Yeah, we've looked at ways to do that. Right now we've got it, I think, capped at 25 today, if my memory serves. The system can handle about 1,000 layers at a time. We found that most people don't use any more than 20, so that's why we kept it capped. But we're looking at a way to take it, so for the people who really push that system hard and want a lot more vinyls, to give them access to more layers. We can't just crank it up for everybody, or there's a whole lot of drawing going on in free roam, so everyone can see those cool vinyls. So we'll find a way to make it so that the real powerhouse artists we have in the game have access to those tools.
Right. And 2 questions back to back. How about American Muscle, or any plans for adding more muscle cars into the game? I'm sure that's similar to another car. Yeah,
absolutely. We have a huge list. Mark DeBellis has compiled quite the list of great cars, a lot of which have been in Need for Speed before, and some of which are new. And we've always featured some great muscle in Need for Speed games, and I don't think that's going to change.
Excellent. And speaking, and a lot of people want to know, about specific cars. I'm trying to pick the more generic ones. Will we add more cars like the BMW Z4 GT3, or more kind of race specified?
Well, I think especially if we start moving, the top of Tier 3 and into Tier 4, you're going to see a lot of race qualified cars in there. And they look great. They're very cool cars.
Yep. That BMW is gorgeous. Yeah, I mean, the vinyls are spot on.
And we take a look at things like speedhunters.com, where we feature some amazing real-world cars. And when we find some cool stuff out there and we can get into the game, we will. That's where we got that Z4.
Very nice. Let's see. Are you planning to make more cars available for cash?
You will see at least one new cash car coming out per month. Minimum of one.
A minimum of one a month.
And that's with that 4-a-month pace. And you'll see more cash cars coming out. We're not ever going to abandon that.
Great. Do you have any plans on expanding Team Escape, either more modes or more tracks available for it?
Both. So we want to get more tracks out. There's some little Need for Speed game called The Run has sucked up our best track designer. He'll be done soon and back with us, we hope, and then we'll be cranking out some more Team Escape tracks in particular. And we have a lot of cool mode variants I think we can do. I personally want to drive a dump truck and try to escape the cops. So I'd love to see that sort of thing happen.
Yeah.
So no promises yet, but I want to get that sort of thing into the game.
As always, a lot of people asking about specific cars in the game. Will there be more tuner cars in Tier 3?
Absolutely. Just like you're seeing with all the other classes of cars, we're going to get more and more in. And we want Tier 3 to be and Tier 2 both to be pretty wide tiers. So you should see lots of different varieties.
And people are still arriving, but somebody's asking, will there be a Mercedes in the game? And we've already answered that. But
the SLR is coming in next week along with a new Audi. So
SLR and a new Audi next week.
Next Tuesday. Check it out.
Very nice. And can we expect... Ooh, lost it here. Can we expect new vinyls anytime soon?
We're doing more vinyls. I think you'll see more. We want to really focus on getting some really great cars out there right now. And it's the same artist building those great art director cars and those other cars that would do the vinyl.
Yeah.
So as we up kind of the capacity and pace we're delivering content this fall, I think you'll see some more vinyls, yes.
Okay. And any plans for allowing players to play as a cop?
Yeah, lots. We have about 3 different designs and ways to handle that for you guys. It's something I'd love to get into the game. It's a lot of work. It's a whole new career path and a whole new way to play. I think it's going to come, and I think we'll build it. We need to prioritize it with the other stuff we want to do.
Right.
But this game, it's been out a year now. I expect we've got quite a few years to go before we're done putting content in this game. So I think before too long, you'll see that sort of thing.
Okay. And I think let's see. A lot of people like to collect cars in the game, and certainly have a nice collection. Will there ever be more free car slots available for free?
I don't have a good answer for that, actually. So I think we're talking about how do we handle progression and the fact that people do want a lot more cars than we kind of initially expected. And so that's one of the things I think we'll be discussing as we get into how do we want to really grow the game in levels and skills in safe house slots, etc. We also have a couple of other safe houses built we'd love to get out to you guys. Okay. And we just got to find the right way to build that into the game.
Great. And you can always, with Speed Boost, buy more car slots, right?
Absolutely. Every car you buy with Speed Boost comes with a car slot.
Excellent. And will the Tier 4 cars that you've mentioned, will they be available for cash?
Don't have a good answer for that yet. I haven't done that level of design, so I don't think I don't know how we're going to handle that.
Are we planning on improving AI traffic at all?
Yeah, a lot of work going into both AI traffic and cop AI, and so there's some really simple fixes we can get in. We just put some in the game recently. There's some more coming to make the cops behave a little better, particularly in free roam, where they can sometimes be a little crazy. And that same work that improves the cops will improve the traffic.
And let's see. True Bad would like to know, will hot rods ever be in the game, like old rat rods and such?
That'd make Rod Chong on the Speed Hunter site very happy. He's been pushing me for years on that one. I think as we kind of really pick up that pace of car delivery, we're going to reach a point where we're going to, are we looking at SUVs? Are we looking at things like hot rods, more unusual cars in the Need for Speed catalog is normally touched? And so I'm not going to rule it out. But that's not on the list yet. We should ping Mark with that during one of those Ask Mark segments.
So the next question is, will the fastest car in the world, the Bugatti Veyron, ever make it into the game? And it's we've been talking about Tier 4 a lot, and a frequent question we get is, will things like the Bugatti, the Koenigsegg, Aston Martins, or Lamborghini Reventon, things like that, ever make it into the game?
I got to see a Reventon up close here in the booth, actually, I believe.
Oh, no, the Aventador.
Yeah.
The Aventador is in the booth,
Yeah, beautiful car.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
And I've seen one in Singapore, so I like those cars. I want to see that in the game. One of the cars you just mentioned, I'm not going to tell you which one, is going to make an appearance soon.
Okay,
in the next month or so. And the rest of those cars are pretty high-level Tier 4 cars. So those are when we talk about Tier 4, that's the type of cars we're talking about.
All right, and so just to recap, one of the following will be available in the next month: a Koenigsegg, a Bugatti, an Aston Martin, or a Lamborghini Reventon in the next month.
One of those will be out.
Okay, you guys heard it here first. And let's see what else we've got here. Who else?
If I'm wrong about that, Mark's going to kill me.
Probably, me too. Could you consider the option to save different vinyl designs for each car?
Yeah, that's something we've talked about, and it's particularly because that really helps people set up, being able to save and share those would help people set up clans and crews really effectively. And so when we talk about that as a feature set that we want to get out to you guys, in particular a deeper social experience, that's one of the kind of supporting features we think is important. And so I think we'll get there. I'm not sure where it sits on our list right now, but it is something we've noted that we probably need to do.
Okay. And let's see. Any Hungry Hungarian would like to know, we would love to see a clan feature in the game. Any plans for that, like clans, car clubs, anything
Absolutely.
like that?
That's the kind of thing that we'd like to see. The designers beat me up all the time for saying no, because it hasn't been time yet. We wanted to get some other things out first.
Yeah.
So this fall and winter, we're really going to focus on content. But then a clan and crew design is the kind of thing that we've had on our plate for a while. There's a lot of supporting features for that we want to get in, especially modes that really support that kind of play. Right now, though, you can always do things like line up your license plates to get the same
license plates, same vinyls,
same
color,
vinyls,
and paint. Yep.
Colors. Yeah, you can do that. Some of that stuff. You can make all your mottos the same in your profile, and that's the sort of thing that you can do with the existing tools. And in terms of a full clan and crew system, I think that's the kind of thing that we'd like to get to you with part of this big content push.
All right, and let's see. Do we plan on replacing the chat functionality?
We plan on improving it,
okay.
For sure. So right now, two ways to chat in the game. So you can do the text chat, or you can do that Dolby Axon voice chat, which is fantastic. I mean,
it's great.
Voice quality is great.
Yeah.
About 10% of the people at any one time that are in the game are on that voice chat. What we're going to do with the text chat is we're going to channel you a little bit better based on the language you're speaking when you come into the game, so that you're generally chatting with people who are speaking the same language.
Okay. And another question. We answered one similar to this earlier about trades and stuff. Will auction ever come into the game?
It's just like trades for us. It's a pretty weighty feature, and that's the kind of thing that's on our list. But we kind of place it behind getting some new modes and content into the game. So it's there, but it's not something that we plan on doing in the near future.
Okay. And Tim Luca Rosner would like to know, do you like Germany?
I do like Germany. I've been to brew houses 3 nights in a row now.
Excellent. Very nice.
I've drank a lot of German beer, a lot of great Kolsch. And this is not my first trip to Germany, but I come back every year because it's fun.
It is fun. This is my first time being here. Cologne's a great city, especially when the weather's nice like this. It's a good spot.
Beautiful city.
And all right, so back to World. What is the top of your priority list right now?
Content. So we want to get more cars out to you faster, and followed by that is more events and more ways to play.
And you're adding, starting to pick up on the amount of cars being released as well, right?
You'll see 12 cars a month starting at the end of September.
Great. And let's see. Will we see more upgrade slots on cars, like maybe exhaust or weight reduction?
Yes, I think you will. That goes along with kind of an overhaul in general of performance customization. We designed it with expansion in mind, and you'll see some of that.
Okay. Are you planning to implement a new damage model for all cars?
I think we like the damage model we have because we're aiming at an action game. We're not going to do real-time deformation like we did in, say, Pro Street or Shift, because we want to make sure this game runs smoothly on some of those lower-end computers as well. But the model we have now gives you a little bit of visual evidence of damage, but we don't want to impact your performance due to damage because we want this to be a fun, fast-paced action game.
Fair enough. And I think what we're trying to... It says any possibility to have a review of your race. I think that's the same as a replay, right?
Yeah, a bit of a replay, yeah. We have definitely talked about that, and there's a couple ways we can do that, and it's one of the things that's on our prototyping list, absolutely.
Okay. And let's see. Any plans to add a ghost mode into the game?
Yeah, same thing as kind of a replay mode. We've done it in previous Need for Speeds, and the idea of being able to race against your own best time or your friends is the kind of thing that is on the list of things we'd like to add, particularly because it makes the game a bit more social. Autolog-esque.
Very Autolog-esque. Will the displayed stats for cars ever show real performance?
The way we have it built now is we want to show you kind of it is a bit of an abstraction of performance, and that's because the part system works better that way, particularly the next level of the part system we want to introduce. And so we're probably not going to show you real base horsepower or give you a dyno, mostly because this isn't a sim. And at the point that we decide to build a sim, of course, we'll have to do the real thing.
And so those of you asking about a clan and crew, watch the archive because we have talked about it, but in the meantime, you can just make your vinyls and paint all the same, but we have, it is in the works, or it has been talked about.
It's certainly been designed.
Yeah. And a lot of people still asking about, will you add a level 51 to the game? Over it, but
we're not sure how we're going to handle it yet, whether we're going to kind of overhaul the way we look at levels and skills, or whether we're going to extend them as they are. And that's I think there's meetings going on right now. Well, probably not right now in Vancouver, but when they wake up.
Okay. let's see. So here we go. Talking about the servers, how should we continue with the servers, because there seems to be daily problems?
We had a number of issues this weekend due to some hardware problems that triggered some software problems that should be fixed. So I'm not seeing any issues right now when I look at the logs, and not seeing any alerts. So should be back up. And as we grow, and we're seeing about 30,000 new players a day come into World right now.
Wow, that's really impressive.
Yeah, so you're kind of pushing our technical expertise to the limit as we try to make sure the servers can handle all of you. So occasionally we're going to stumble like that, but hopefully it won't last very long when we do.
And will there be side exhausts for the muscle cars?
No, I don't have a good answer for that. But I imagine Mark is going to want them. He's probably going to want flames shooting out of them.
I want them. I think that'd be awesome.
Yeah. So you just heard a rendering engineer burst into tears in the background.
And then, are there any plans to add new power-ups? We've talked about kind of skills a little bit and things like that.
I think as we add new modes, a lot of those modes will come with unique power-ups as well.
All right, and we were talking about the servers. Are there any plans to improve the multiplayer sync?
Right now, the multiplayer sync you'll only be out of sync in multiplayer if you have a bad connection. So if someone else has a bad connection, you won't see them bouncing around. So because just the way the architecture of the multiplayer. So the best way to improve your multiplayer sync is better internets.
Improve your interwebs. Will we kick out the magnet feature? This person really doesn't like that. Yeah.
Well, we put the shield in to kind of counter that magnet. And I've noticed a lot of players, especially some of the more experienced players, know how to deal with the magnet and get really good at dodging that traffic as it comes in. So it's part of the game, and it's the kind of thing that'll probably be there for a while unless we decide to overhaul the power-up system entirely.
Need for Speed World fan wants to know, what's your favorite car? Need for Speed World.
I'm driving that brand new Exige right now.
Oh, that's great!
I love how nimble that is, and it's a real challenge to run that one in Team Escape because it has no weight, and so you better be a good driver. Yeah.
Very true. Let's see. Will you add Team Escape maps without the tier division involved?
Yeah, I think you'll see some more Team Escape maps for sure. Those tier divisions we put in almost as a difficulty level, and as we build more Team Escape maps, you'll see some that are more merged. Yeah.
Okay, and Joker 86 RUS, or probably Russia. Is there going to be a system to protect against cheats? There were a few complaints within the chat about people who seem to think there are some cheaters within the game.
Sometimes you'll see what appears to be people hacking, speed hacking, because of just the sync at the end.
Right.
So it'll look bad. Or if your connection is a little bit slow, you'll see people bounce ahead. There are some people who are doing some real cheating in the game. We have a team that works constantly, literally every week, evaluating all the cheats that we know exist out there and dealing with them as appropriate. So we don't talk about it much, but they are. There's just about every patch that comes out has some countermeasure in it.
And, how about will we make more controllers or steering wheels available to the game?
I think a lot of those controllers and steering wheels should work natively within Windows 7 without us having to do much. If you're running Windows, and we have looked as unique controllers come out. We talk to partners all the time about putting them in. It's a bit behind in priority behind getting more content into the game. And as Microsoft gets better on the universal drivers, we'll all be a bit happier, I think.
Okay. And speaking of Windows, do you have any plans to bring it over to Mac?
We talked about that a lot. So right now, the one challenge with bringing it to Mac is that some of the solutions we've seen out there that wrap the executable for Macintosh don't run much faster than just running it in parallels.
Okay.
So we don't see a point of doing a native Mac drop, or at least a wrapped Mac drop, if you don't get a great performance increase. So right now what we're saying is it runs okay in parallels, runs great in a dual boot, and if we find a solution that makes it run really well on the Mac, then we'll be happy to bring it. I run a Mac, so I'd like that too.
As do I. Have a Mac at home, so it'd be nice to have that. Will you add any new worlds to Need for Speed World from previous Need for Speed games?
We've talked about it. So we've talked about the Underground 2 world is pretty sharp. It's going to require a lot of work to bring the visual quality up to where we are. If you don't believe me, just go load the PS2 version and compare it. and then we've looked at the Tri-Cities as well. Both of those are our options. The first thing you're going to see is canyons.
Okay. And do you plan to make an inside camera or a cockpit cam?
We don't right now. I think there's a few other things we want to do with cameras, particularly an orbit cam, and a way to do photo mode in free roam.
Yeah.
But in terms of a cockpit cam, we think Shift and Shift 2 do that great. It fits really well in a sim, but it doesn't quite fit what we want to do in an action game.
Okay. And at the same time, yeah, like you said, it's a sim thing. So those of you who want the cockpit cam, you're more welcome to play Shift 2.
That's right.
Which has got that.
And it's great. That's the only way I play Shift 2
is
with that cockpit cam.
And Motor City Online asks, did you guys ever play Motor City Online? Did you ever play? I played it. I played it as a kid.
Yeah. I played it, and actually one of the engineers at Black Box, a couple of the engineers now, but one of our TDs was one of the guys on Motor City Online.
Oh, really?
In Seattle. So
I was a big fan of using that. I think maybe in like a 56 Corvette or something like that. That was in the game. That was a fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep, very familiar with Motor City.
Yep. Let's see. Will you add semi-trucks in traffic?
Yeah, we've talked about that actually, and I think places where you might see semi-trucks first is in places like Team Escape, where they become a really cool barrier. Yeah.
You could probably see some pretty good crashes from that too.
Absolutely,
I would imagine.
It's fun to knock pipes off the semi-truck and crack the cars.
Let's see. It says will there be any mini games or social activities such as bumper cars at the fairground?
That's funny. We did a lot of design for that early on, and when we put that in the fairgrounds, we looked at putting a little go-kart track and some
awesome.
some dune buggies on the beach.
Cool.
And it's the kind of thing that's sitting in our backlog, and it's the kind of thing that with a game that should be around 5 years and more. I imagine that's the sort of thing we'll get time for, especially once we get the big features out of the way.
Let's see. The driver in the car is sitting still. Can we have him be animated?
Yeah, we'd like that too. I think there's a number of games that have done that really well in the recent Need for Speeds, and we'd like to get some in. Again, this is one of those features that we think is cool, but kind of comes in behind more cars and more ways to play.
Is it possible to configure the controls of the game?
In terms of the keyboard controls?
I would assume, yeah.
Yeah. Again, that's something we should. It's one of the many things on the backlog that we need to get to. But like I said, the primary focus right now is making sure that we're bringing you more ways to play the game. But we have a huge list of things like COB improvements and a lot of the questions you've asked that are things that we are looking into or we've already looked into, know what it takes, and we're just waiting for the right time to get them out.
Yeah. Let's see. A lot of people asking about drag and drift mode still.
Okay. Yeah. I love drag.
Yeah. If you guys, a lot of your questions we've already answered, so definitely go back and when we post this, we'll post this on the Need for Speed World Facebook and a lot of other on our Need for Speed channels, and you can go back and a lot of your questions that you're asking already have been answered. So things like the drift and the drag modes we've already discussed.
Yeah.
So you can definitely take a look at those. Will you be able to transfer parts from one account to another?
That's a really kind of a trade system question, and it's not something we have planned in the short term, but it's the sort of thing we've talked about as a longer term feature list.
Okay. Will you guys celebrate year 2?
Absolutely. We'll celebrate year 3 and year 4 as well. So I
like that answer. That's
any excuse to party.
Will there ever be races that are only on highways?
Yes, and I think
somebody's a top speed freak. Obviously.
That kind of falls into line with we want those tier 4 cars as they come out to have their own unique events that fit those cars, and freeways are a good place to test your top speed.
Is there any chance of seeing a storyline woven into this game or video cutscenes?
It's a sort of thing we've discussed for sure. We looked into it a bit, and it's a topic that comes up quite a bit. And I think as we're looking at some of the other major features we want to add to the game, it's the kind of thing we may add, especially if it helps people get into the game a little smoother.
Okay. And are there any plans to increase the amount of slots in the Team Escape race?
Right now we like 4 because that means we can draw more cops. So every player we add, we got to reduce the number of cops, and we prefer to have the frenetic action.
Okay. Is it possible to have a race tournament in Need for Speed World?
It is. It certainly is. And right now, a lot of those are run by either fan sites or by the competitions that Ling and Mark are running. In terms of an actual tournament mode, it's the sort of thing that we kind of like the fan sites to take over and drive. But it's however, it is something that we want to get in as more of a social feature. So less, your next race is at 3 o'clock, and more, hey, let's see what you can do in a certain defined period of time.
Yep. Will we see? I kind of like this one. We talked a little bit about it when we mentioned the old school Motor City Online cars. Will we see Tier C classic cars like 1950s or 70s cars?
I know that in particular some of the 70s cars. I think Mark would love to get in.
Yeah.
And they're in there on the car list somewhere. But as to when they'll show up, I'm not sure.
Okay. Let's see. Could we add a 6th gear to cars with only 5 gears one day?
We might. We definitely want to do a deeper cut at the performance customization system. It was designed so we can do cool things like engine swaps if we wish and transmission changes. And we'll, as we go farther into that redesign and that extension, we'll answer that question.
German Taxi wants to know that the funfair carousels stand still. Can you not activate them?
We could. That kind of comment is pretty cool because it tells us where people find the game a little weird, or a little static. And we've animated a ton of stuff in the game compared to what those worlds looked like when they were when they were originally released. And that's the kind of thing that's a cool idea.
Will there be closed tracks, like either like a race on an actual racetrack or street track without traffic? Is that possible?
Yes, the kind of thing we're discussing. Yep.
Let's see.
I don't think you'll see much traffic in the canyons.
That's probably right.
Those go live.
Yep. And when do those go live?
Not sure.
All right. So we're not sure when the canyons go live.
We want to take our time and make sure we get the modes right.
There you go. Let's see. Is it in the future, or do you have any plans for the ability to donate money or speed boost to other people?
To gift, that is a feature we'd like to be able to do, and it's one of the things that's on our roadmap for sure.
Okay, and a lot of people like to kind of live that fast and furious lifestyle. Any plan to add pink slips, a pink slip system or something like that?
Yeah, the challenge I've always had with a pink slip system, and I know that some of you guys disagree with me, is that when you win, it's awesome, and you're awesome. And when you lose, the game cheated you.
Very true. Very
it was
true.
the AI's fault, or it was the game, or it was lag. And so the pink slip system isn't something I think we're going to add in the near term in Need for Speed. Now, if we can figure out a way to do it so it feels fair to everybody, happy to do it.
Okay. Will we ever be able to take parts from cars back to the inventory?
That's not something we have planned now. I think of it in an MMO as it's bind on equip. It is the kind of thing that we do talk about, though, as we look at the next level of performance customization. Okay.
And let's see what else. Will there be an in-game radio or more music in-game?
Yeah, that's another feature that we've had designed for a long time, and we want to get in. There's a lot of great music we've had from previous Need for Speed games that we'd love to get into this game, and a radio gadget is something that we'd like to add. It's in the backlog, and it's something we want to get to.
And I mean, usually if I ever don't like a song or anything, I just put on my iTunes and let it go while playing.
That's right, and that's how I play too. So right now that you've got your own radio, but we'd love to add a more of an in-game feature as well.
Let's see. We just talked about pink slips. Talked about adding more race types. Is it possible we've talked about giving free car slots?
Yeah.
People are asking you to challenge them. How often do you play, and where can they find you?
I do play quite a bit. My tag is and driver name is out there on the internet. I think one of the things you're going to see is for the 1 year anniversary, we did this Find the Dev, where we all drove the Ziege for you to track us down in game. We thought that was pretty successful, so I think you're going to see that on a pretty regular basis. And if you can find me, I'll race you. And some of you are good enough to beat me, and some maybe not.
I'll bet you're pretty good. We haven't raced yet.
No, I don't think we have.
Yeah, we should probably make that happen. What level are you?
I'm whatever level I can cheat to. So I have the tools. So.
Okay. Well then, never mind. I don't want to race anymore. Let's see. When will you open the roads between Rockport and Kempton?
I'm not sure. We haven't really decided what we want to do with that yet. So that potentially may be where some canyons plug.
That was asked by Peter Gabriel, by the way.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
Well, good. Glad you're a fan, Peter. Love your music. We may see some new roads come into that area.
Okay. Can you guys lower the money in order to purchase Boost?
That's something we talked about for some territories. We play around with that all the time. Do a lot of analysis on the price points, and we change those things fairly regularly.
And as it stands, I mean, you really do get a lot of bang for your buck as it is right now.
You really, I think you do. I think,
especially with all the bonus cards you get it with those transactions. Let's see. Somebody's asking, will there be no team escape, as in every man for himself?
Yeah. So I like the fact that we try to make Team Escape more cooperative, and I think going forward with Team Escape, what we're doing is making that cooperation more important. So I think we're likely, the races are where I think it should be every man for himself. I think you should be all against the cops when you're doing Team Escape.
Somebody wants to see the key that's hanging around your neck.
Oh, that's just my fancy badge.
Yep, pretty.
My fancy badge.
Not very, very fancy actually.
Yeah.
Custom.
Yeah, I think this is actually made of real paper.
Somebody would like to know when the next Spot the Devs event is going to be.
Watch the channels. Watch Twitter and Facebook for Need for Speed World, and we'll announce it. So I think they're going to come on a fairly regular cadence going forward.
All right, and let's see. When will we see, or will we ever see, a manual gearbox?
At this point, our thought on manual is that if we get a drag mode out that uses manual, you'll probably see a deeper manual gearbox in general. Right now, we'll probably keep it the way it is for most cars.
Okay. And will we ever see convertible cars in the game?
Well, that's where it goes back to that question on animating the drivers. So if we're going to do a convertible, we need to do a little more work on making those drivers feel more realistic. Maybe adding more female drivers to the game or some different models. And that's what's holding us up on convertibles today.
All right. And are there any plans to have like a traffic off option so you can toggle back and forth between the two?
That is definitely a discussion. Sometimes that traffic gets a little crazy, and it's the sort of thing we are discussing. Yes.
A lot of people asking for some high-end cars. We've already discussed it. Tier 4. It's
Tier
in
4,
the works.
It's in the works. It'll come when we feel like those cars are tied to some really badass events.
All right. And let's see. We've got about 5 minutes left.
Okay.
And Team Escape is like Sprint with cops. Will there be a Team Escape like in Free Roam?
Interesting. Right now, one of the things we like about Team Escape in general is that we've scripted it a bit so we can make it really hard. Or at least, especially as we get more and more events out, it should continue to get more challenging. We talked about the free roam version, but I think we'd have the objectives be a little different. Not just escaping, but you might have to do something while you're trying to escape as well. And so it's one of the things we talk about with variants. And it's one of the things that you should keep your eyes peeled for, because as we start building these variants, we'll probably come up with some pretty cool ways to play.
All right, and again, more Tier 4 comments. How many cars are going to be in Tier 4?
I know there are at least 6 right now.
That's a good amount.
Already built.
Great.
We're certainly, there's a lot of other fast cars out there in the world.
Very true. And I'm sure our fans have mentioned probably about 90% of them in this chat. Let's see. What about a giveaway on this page? We usually have a lot of giveaways, right, on our channels?
Absolutely, on Twitter and Facebook both. Keep your eye out. Ling does them all the time, and we get a lot of response. I think the last one she did, we had about 800 responses in 20 seconds, so there's certainly a lot of people watching. Yeah, so definitely, if you haven't liked Need for Speed World on Facebook, definitely go do it and follow them on Twitter, right? Absolutely, please do. Great. And let's see, what else we got here. Will you add a kick button to the lobby? Interesting. Right now, we don't have a plan to do that. And if you really want to race with just your friends, I recommend doing the private match. That you can get on voice chat, do a private match, and race to your heart's content. We're looking at different ways to handle the lobby so you can stay together with your friends more effectively. And that's the sort of thing that hopefully we'll get out before the 2-year anniversary.
Okay. And let's see. Got a couple here. Will there ever be Pursuit Breaker animations or anything similar to that?
Yeah, I think we'll see that improve over time for sure. Right now we want to make it pretty tight and effective. And animations are something that we want to get in as well. Yeah, I think I'm sure you're talking about free roam.
Yeah. Let's see. Can you name 2 of the Tier 4 cars?
I can't.
Yep.
Yeah, I can't even spell them.
Will you ever add cars that do not exist in the real world?
Right now, that isn't in the plan. So I think there's so many great cars that have been in previous Need for Speeds or just out there in the world that we haven't had before that are real that I think we'll stick with those. This game's going to be around a long time, so never say never. But right now, there's just too many good cars that are already there to get into the game.
All right. And let's see. Yeah, I think there, like you said, there are a ton of cars out there that, if we added a car that wasn't necessarily authentic or real, a lot of people would be clamoring like, why are you adding fake cars where there's still so many cars that still need to be in the game?
Someone's favorite won't be in the game.
Exactly. Let's see. A couple more, and let's see. Somebody's asking, can we do a giveaway in the forums? The forums are very, very popular. Ling definitely goes through them a lot and answers your questions. But I think for the most part, those giveaways will tend to be on Facebook and Twitter. So
that's right.
That's where they're going to be focused primarily. Let's see. When can you? Do you plan to convert cash to Speed Boost?
It's something that is an interesting question. It probably not right now. It's the kind of thing we like to keep those 2 economies separate. I think it makes more sense to us. So I can't see that happening anytime soon.
Okay. And let's see. When will we see an open world camera?
Something very near and dear to the hearts of a bunch of the engineers and designers, and so we were actually going to have one out this month, but we delayed it because we wanted to focus on the next version of Treasure Hunt.
Okay.
And we also want to make sure that not only do we have a good camera system, but we have a good way for you to share those photos. And so we'll get that feature out when we think it fits kind of, it's the whole package, not just one little piece.
Besides gold packs, what's the best way to get pro parts?
Race a lot. Yeah, that's the best way.
That's probably the right answer.
And that's the most fun way.
Let's see. Let's
take opening packs.
Let's try and find one more good question.
All right.
Let's see here. If you find one on here, maybe there's one. Go through any of those frequently asked questions.
There's a good question I saw, which is, are you going to release some more cop cars? And I guess we're not only going to keep rolling out cop cars for players to drive, but as we may creep into some new levels of heat, I think you'll see some new cops driving some new cars as well.
Great.
So both of those are going to be out.
Well,
take this time to throw you guys should check out Need for Speed The Run for sure. They build that game 20 feet from my office, so it looks fantastic, and I hope everyone gets a chance to check out the trailer.
Definitely take a look at the trailer. World just released a trailer, so definitely take a look at that. That'll be on their Facebook. And also, if you're interested in the run, we've got an upcoming live web Q&A, another live chat coming up in about, I think, in the next hour or so.
Great.
So definitely take a look at that. We're going to have live chats for the run, Burnout Crash, and Reckoning, all coming out today. So be excited for those. Definitely participate if you're interested in any of them. And you were talking about heat earlier. It's nice and cool in here, but I think we're going to have to go back into the mass of people that's at GamesCom.
I've been playing some Burnout Crash. It's great.
It's a great game. It's a lot of fun. The connect with it, it's the party mode. It's an absolute blast to play. No pun intended there with all the explosions and stuff. But thank you guys very much for asking your questions. I'm sorry if we couldn't get to yours. A lot of you asked about specific cars, which we couldn't talk about yet, or it would just take too long. It would take an hour just to get through every single one of the cars that you asked about. So our apologies, but Tier 4 is coming soon.
It is.
Big news that the Mercedes SLR is coming soon.
This next week?
Next week, Mercedes SLR and an Audi.
Correct? And an Audi, yeah.
And an Audi. And one of the following cars will be available within a month: the Koenigsegg, a Bugatti, an Aston Martin, or the Lamborghini Reventon in the next month. So, John, Doyle, senior producer, Need for Speed the World. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me.
Appreciate it.
And until next time.
Thanks for the questions, guys.
All right, appreciate it. Thank you, guys.